in even more dire poverty than they already are.
Yeah. Please stay with us as we move to our next update on these developments. The foreign ministers of the Arab League will hold an emergency meeting on Sunday to discuss Iranian attacks on several of the group's members. According to reports, the meeting, which will be held via video conference, was requested by Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Jordan and Egypt. Israel's military has reported that over 80 fighter jets conducted a major wave of airstrikes on Iranian military sites across Tehran and central Iran on Saturday. The strikes targeted key infrastructure, including missile launchers and a military academy used by Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Israel described the academy as an emergency asset for military operations, making it a legitimate military target. Other facilities struck included an underground command center, missile storage, and launch sites aimed at reducing the threat to Israel's territory. This marks one of the largest Israeli raids since the regional conflict began on February 28th. Joining us again, we have Saul Sadka, who is a political commentator in Tel Aviv, Israel. Saul, what types of things could we see being discussed in this upcoming Arab League meeting? Of course, there's the subjects of defence, the oil markets, of course, which are very important to the countries in the Arab League. But are there any other factors that would not be obvious that they perhaps might discuss?
Well, considering it this way, consider it this way, for example. So you right now have most of the Arab countries, including UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, Iraq, and other countries such as Turkey, Azerbaijan, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. They have all been attacked directly at this point by the IRGC. And this seems to have been the act of the dead hand of the Ayatollah, who left instructions to this effect. And what effect does this have? The goal of it was to create a sense of panic and chaos and to try and get these people, these states, to pressure Trump to end the war because they don't want chaos, they don't want World War III. But the effect seems to have been the opposite, and this was predictable. It has affected them in the way that they understand that Iran had to be stopped now. Because if they would have continued to double and triple and quadruple this year their stockpiles of missiles, which they had turned their entire economy towards doing, then these attacks would have been 3 or 4 times worse. In fact, much more, because once you get below the certain threshold, there's really no way to stop the mass attacks, which are the real threats. And what it has done is united all these Arab nations more than ever before. United against their Shia rivals across the Gulf. And it has also, and you have to give Khomeini credit for this, in a way, you could argue that no one deserves the Nobel Peace Prize more than the late Ayatollah Khomeini, if it can be given posthumously. Because after all, what has he done? He has brought Arab and Jew together in the Middle East in a way that has never been seen before. He has united everyone together in understanding that only together can they defeat this scourge of jihadism and the drive for global domination that has been emanating from Iran. And so the end result of the late Ayatollah's final instructions to spread this kind of chaos might actually be a genuine peace in the Middle East.
Yes. And just on the 80 fighter jets that were struck central Iran, what influence may this have on developments? Of course, there's been attempts by the US there's been strikes by the US and Israel on several sites within Iran, on cities such as Tehran. There's also been the reports of arming of Kurds, as you mentioned earlier. We've seen more of these strikes, but we're still not seeing an obvious end in sight, which is perhaps why Trump has said earlier that he wishes for an unconditional surrender. Just regarding that, how could we see these strikes play out? I mean, both sides are saying that they're doing excellently at this point.
Well, I mean, both sides might be saying they're doing excellently, but yet the leader of one side is dead along with all their leaderships and all their navy and all their planes. So one side is lying. So when Trump is demanding immediate surrender, this is absolutely not because he's had enough, or because he's scared, or because he's worried that he's losing and he's trying to trick the Iranians into surrendering. No, no, no. That's not what's going on here. That would be some kind of a bizarre, I don't know, Chinese talking point almost. It's absurd. The fact that, for example, the Americans have been able to bomb the entire Iranian Air Force, as we've just seen on the ground, is a feat of power. However, the Iranian Air Force, all those planes that have been destroyed, really weren't any threat. These were American planes and Russian planes, most of which were more than 50 years old. They are not a practical threat to anything at all that the Americans and the Israelis have been throwing at them. They weren't able, after all, to shoot a single plane down. In fact, the only people who've had success against America and Israel are the Kuwaitis, who accidentally shot down 3 American planes. The Iranians have managed nothing, despite the fact that at this point it looks like there have been around 10,000 fighter and bomber missions over Iran's airspace in the past week. That's an extraordinary number. And out of 10,000, the Iranians have not managed to get one hit. Not via a plane, not via a missile. In other words, this is complete dominance. So no, the reason that Trump is demanding a surrender is definitely not because he thinks he's losing. Quite the contrary, it's because he recognizes that he doesn't need to offer the Iranians anything anymore. And in fact, there's really nothing the Iranians could offer him, because the ballistic missile program is on the verge of complete destruction. There's a small amount of it left. They're only able to fire off a few of them at a time, and a few of them at a time pose no risk because a few at a time are easily intercepted. If they had wanted to attack with true danger, they had to be firing them off by the dozen, even by the hundreds, but they haven't been able to, and that's because the Israelis and Americans have been flying overhead, and as soon as they shoot one off, that's the end of that launcher. So in general, there are videos of the Iranian IRGC men who are tasked with firing off these rockets, highly trained people, firing them off and then running as fast as they can away from their launchers, because they know that within a few minutes, that launcher is going to go kaboom. And they certainly don't want to be in it, let alone driving it back to pick up another missile to fire another one. So this is a catastrophe for the IRGC. It's the end of the IRGC as a global threat. Whether they're able to keep control of the population, this remains to be seen. It could be that they will be for a period of weeks, months, or years even.
Okay.
But as a global threat, able to project power, they're done.
Okay. Saul, please stay with us as we move to our next update. Iran's President Pezeshkian has stated that there is no enmity with regional countries despite the ongoing tensions